Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for today's Facebook Live. We've got a great chat lined up for you all today. We are joined by Carlo Lenocci. Carlo is one of our lovely Italian language tutors who's going to be filling us in on some really interesting stories, how he ended up in Edinburgh, how he started working with flavors. He's also going to be telling us about his online Learn Italian courses for beginners. So he'll be giving you all the tips you need to know if you're considering learning the language. So Carlo, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
Hi, Ciaran. I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for having me here. It's always a pleasure to speak with staff of Flavor Holidays.
No, it's certainly my pleasure to have you. It's my pleasure to have you. So how have you been this week, Carlo? Have you been up to anything interesting?
Well, just the usual at this time during the lockdown. So I've been working, meeting lots of students, chatting with people, having meals with my boyfriend at home. Yeah. And the weather is not very nice in Edinburgh now, so we are cozy inside.
Indeed, same as us. So Carlo, can you tell us what part of Italy do you come from?
Yes, I was born in Puglia. Puglia, yes, it's the south of Italy. Italy is like a boot shape. I come from the high hill, and here I was born and I lived until the age of 15. Yes, this I really like my region because I think it's nice for its big variety. If you have been to Puglia, you know there is. It's very different. Like if you go to the north, it's different than the south. And also you can see differences in accents, languages. I come from the area of Trulli. Trulli are these typical houses, stone houses with a cone shape. And it's a wonderful place because you can see the red land and olive trees. So it's very nice to visit, especially if you like painting or photography. It's very nice. And so Puglia is always very well known for food, quality of food. Of course, everywhere in Italy you go, you have good food, but Puglia especially is famous for vegetables. So the freshness of vegetables. And also we have lots of good things, focaccia, dishes with aubergines. It's a place everyone must visit at least once in their life. Yes, then when I was 15, I moved to Milan. So actually I come from two places of Italy because I've lived half life in the south, half life in the north. And the north is completely different. So also the language is different and everything, food is different. So yes, I think.
Yeah, you certainly make Puglia sound absolutely glorious. When we last chatted, Carlo, you told me that you have been in Edinburgh for 6 years. So can you tell us what was the reason for relocating to Edinburgh?
Yes, well, I moved to Edinburgh from Milan, and I just moved by chance. My sister used to live here in Edinburgh, and so I came to visit. And I love theater, so I came in August. And in August in Edinburgh, there is the Festival Fringe, the very famous, well, the international festival is the Festival of Theater. So I watched so many shows in August. And I was just curious of changing a new life, trying to visit a new place. And I remember when I moved here, despite the rain I found in August, because in August rains very much, I fell in love with the city because Edinburgh is a city, a vibrant city that can give you everything, you know, from activities, theater, from people from everywhere, and also the landscape. So I fell in love with the city, and I decided to book another ticket, this time one-way ticket. So not as a visitor, but as a trial, as my trial. And so I moved a few months after, and I'm still here. So I don't have my return ticket yet.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, no, that's pretty much the same story as me. I came to Edinburgh about 10 years ago, and it was only supposed to be for about 6 months, but exactly like you, fell in love with the city and yeah, never looked back. So it's good to see I'm not the only one. So Carlo, you have been an Italian language teacher for quite a while now. You know, how long actually have you been teaching Italian, and what is it that you actually enjoy about it?
Yes, I started almost soon when I moved to Edinburgh, and I started with the University of the Third Age. And well, as I said before, I'm a curious person, so I really enjoy teaching Italian because this allows me to meet people from everywhere, especially now during the lockdown. Online, I can meet everyone, and so I like to share my language and culture, and so this is why I really like to speak about my language, and also this gives me the opportunity of learning. I never spoke Italian so well before teaching Italian. Also, I had a very good English teacher. When I moved to Edinburgh, my English was not that great. So I went to an English school, and it was so good and so inspirational that it made me wanted to really take him as an example and teach my language myself to other students. So yes, plus every student is different, and so everyone has different stories to tell. So I learn a lot from them. I learn many things from the Scottish culture, English culture, and also we can have lots of fun by putting some drama in our classes. So creating some drama situations. And also when we travel to Italy, many students now, usually we end up with doing something together. And so it's a very, very enjoyable time, the time I'm online with my students. And now I can say I'm every day online, so I see students every day, and this is absolutely wonderful.
No, that's great. And obviously, if anyone has any questions for Carlo, please send them through. Now, we've got one from Liz. Hi, Liz. Thanks for joining us today. Now, my Italian is not great at all, but I think you mentioned Puglia is one of your preferred regions, and there was a mention there of Alberobello.
Carlo, Alberobello. If we break down this word, it means beautiful tree. Alberobello. It's the capital of Trulli. These stone houses that you can visit in Italy. Another very nice thing about the color of the soil. Those who have been to Puglia, they will remember it. It's red. So there is this very red soil. Of course, we don't have grass because we don't have rain. It's a very big problem in Puglia. So there is the red soil and olive trees. And when I was little, I thought the tennis playgrounds were made out of the Puglia soil. So yes, if you go to Puglia, visit Alberobello.
There you go. Carlo, one of the things that I think a lot of our guests have said from learning Italian, and a lot of the guests that do your online classes, I think they mention that they feel so much more confident on the holidays, and they love learning about the new culture. But even you, when we were just speaking before you came on air, you mentioned that you've learned so much more about your own culture since you've started teaching Italian.
Yes, exactly. Because if you lived in my country, I didn't realize about what I had around. For example, when I was in Puglia, I was very young. I didn't really realize how beautiful was what was Ciao Fiona. How beautiful was the scenery around me. Then when I moved to Milan, I said, "Oh my God, this is so beautiful! You know, I would like to live in a trullo." Actually, my father was born in a trullo, And Trullo in the past was the house for poor people, for farmers, people who were not very rich. So my father always tells stories about how difficult it was living in these houses. But now, like, I would be very happy to live in a house like that, of course, with the internet connection. But yes, and so yes, every day I can say I learn something new. Okay, in Italian, in English as well, of course, because thinking in Italian, it makes me think also in English. You know, I can make the differences between Italian and English. So every day I learn a new thing. So this is quite interesting. It's something amazing.
Yeah, and I know certainly our guests absolutely love learning new things. So, Carlo, with the 6-week courses, the beginners courses that you're doing, obviously we're delighted that you've been working with us on those. Can you tell us what your students will be learning during that 6-week beginners course?
Yes, so this would be a beginner class. So we're starting from the basics. And of course, we are starting to learn from situations. So we're starting to learn to introduce ourselves. This is the very first thing. So what our name is, what we do, where do we live, where are we from. And since the very first class, we are going to start speaking because it's important to feel confident since the beginning. So we can say that at the end of the first class, we will produce some conversation. And then with the second, third, and fourth class, we will go on with new situations. So we will speak about how to ask for food in a bar or in a restaurant. Then another lesson will be how to move in a city, how to ask for directions, how to speak about the weather. Or there will be a a lesson oriented on holidays. So what you need to take on the holidays, how to speak at the tourist information office. And also we will learn lots of vocabulary because the beginner course, it's for starting learning. So like learning a language or learning Italian is like a jigsaw puzzle. So basically the beginner course is the part where you have to put in order all the pieces of your puzzle, okay? And these are the basics. And then when we will go over, we will start to find patches. And so you create groups of these pieces. And then in the end, when we will travel to Italy and we will keep on meeting and talking, we can complete our jigsaw puzzle. So yes, the basics means learning from situations and lots of. At the beginning, we don't care if we make mistakes. It's fine because we want to start to build some sentences and make ourselves understood.
Yeah, that sounds great, Carlo, because I think, as I mentioned, I think confidence is a big thing. And I think people obviously like to learn Italian for when they travel there. And by the sounds of it, the course you've put together really gives them a foundation of, if they were on their own, walking around some of these beautiful towns and cities, they would be able to get by asking people directions and going in and out of restaurants and really mingling with the locals.
Yes, also something very important also in our classes will be learn how to understand. So not only speaking, but also listening. Because actually listening is as much as important as speaking, because what happened if we go to Italy and we are very well prepared on asking for directions, but then as soon as the person gives us an answer,
Yes,
we are not able to get it, it will be, So we will work a lot also on listening. So how to understand in Italian what the flow of the sentence is.
Great. And, you know, you've obviously had a lot of beginners in your time, Carlo, in all your teaching. Is there anything you feel that your students struggle with? Is there any, maybe one or two things that you find a lot that the guests struggle with?
Yes. So what I noticed from my students in general is, especially at the beginning, it's they might be afraid of making mistakes. So my tip is speak out, don't worry, okay? And actually, what I always say to my students, embrace the mistake, you know, mistake is a blessing.
Yes.
Okay. There are different reasons. The mistake is very important for learning a language. So one of the reasons is when you make a mistake, you are making a mistake in a context. So for example, if you're doing an activity, if we are cooking, we are in Bologna, we are cooking, for example, we are making bolognese, okay, and you make a mistake and I correct you while you're making bolognese, you will, every time you're going to use the correct word in your life of Italian speaker, you will remember the moment when you were frying the onion for the bolognese. And then also, most importantly, the mistake is important because it highlights that if you didn't make the mistake, you would have ignored before. So actually, when I give homework to my students, I always say, look for go and make mistakes, because then when they give me back the homework, I see where the mistake is, and then we realize where we need to improve to strengthen our skills. Okay, so if by chance we say something correctly but we don't know it was correct, we would ignore it. Okay, and so next time we might make a mistake. So I would encourage to speak out, make mistake, and also, like, perfection doesn't exist. So I've lived for 6 years in Scotland and still I make lots of mistakes in English.
Yeah, all we can do is keep trying.
Yes, I would like also to give some practical.
Yeah.
Sorry?
I was just going to say, any other tips for anybody who's considering learning Italian then, starting from beginners?
Yes, if you are a beginner, it's very important to come to the class with your material organized. So usually what I recommend to my friends, my students, guests, is to divide your notes with vocabulary in one notebook or one page, and expressions in another page, so that at the end of your class, of your learning process, you can clearly, it's easy to go and find what's my vocabulary, what are the expressions. It's also faster, you know, like having everything organized. And yes, also because every class is organized with objectives. So we always have an objective, our goal, what we want to learn from this class. And then there is the activity. And at the end of the class, there is a language reflection, riflessione linguistica. So you go back through on what you have learned, if you feel confident with what you have learned, or if you need to more practice on certain aspect to improve. So yeah, get your material organized.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, look, Carlo, that was great. I really appreciate your time. Just as a reminder, as you can see there, Carlo has a beginner's course that starts on the 23rd of February. So we would love to see you all there. But Carlo, all that's left to say is thank you so much. If anyone else has any questions, please send them through and we'll get Carlo to answer them for you. But for now, take care. And Carlo, thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
Okay, thank you, Ciaran. Ciao a tutti.
Ciao for now.